home, I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming home. Let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday.
Start with a virus, import it into America. Talk about it nonstop. Call some governors. Nod them. That's your guys. Put patients into nursing homes. Kill thousands. Blame the president. Keep blaming. Blame some more. Lock down small business. Kill the economy. Push mail-in voting. Stoke a race war. Call for riots. Pick a candidate. No, not her. Yeah, that's more like it. Lock him in his basement. Shield him from the press. Don't cover this. Don't cover this. Don't cover this. Keep doing that. Ignore the economic recovery. Downplay the world peace. Pump the polls. Pump. Don't stop pumping. Install your software in swing states. That was fast. Take control of polling stations. Call off the election when you're losing. Kick everyone out. Pull out all the extra ballots. Get the software to do its thing. Get the media to say it's over. Call the big tech guys. Ban anyone who notices. Act like the whole thing never happened. Stealing the most powerful republic in the world. It's that easy.
I'm coming home, I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming home. Let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday.
Let's go, baby. He's back. We're going to expose what we all knew what was going on. We saw it happening live back in 2020. We saw what happened. We went to bed. There's an 84% Vegas odds chance that Trump won, but I also saw dozens that night of actual live people at everywhere all over the country. Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona was a biggie. Georgia, Wisconsin. We saw this bullshit happening everywhere with the bullshit mail-in ballots, not requiring voter ID. Okay, when their argument that they're calling us Republicans racist for demanding voter ID. Do you realize what they're saying there? They're basically saying that blacks are too stupid to produce an ID to go vote. Who's the racist one? That's what they are saying. And then they somehow spin it to say it's racist to do voter ID. Seriously, this is the psyops and the bullshit they do. No, you're fucking racist if you think black people are too stupid to produce an ID. How fucking insulting. And this is what they do. They try to keep us all, not just blacks, but especially blacks. They wanted to keep you under their thumb. That's why there's more crime. The ghettos are worse. The poverty is worse. Ever since the war on poverty, they bought your vote, and you were just psyoped to actually think they give a fuck about you. Yeah. And Republicans have their own evil as well. All right. That's part of the Communist Manifesto. Divide, conquer. But we all knew the 2020 election was rigged as hell. We all knew, which we're going to talk about tomorrow, COVID was designed purposefully. They were just completely wrecking the election and everything Trump was doing. Let's fucking go. Let's go, my man. So good to see you. Yeah, man. I love it. Okay. So, yeah. So I've been like resurrected here because I had just given up. I was very involved in this, got hardcore canceled in the past, and like had nothing to do after the 2020 garbage and the COVID garbage. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about how COVID was purposefully created in a lab by the United States. Anthony Fauci was behind it. Bill Gates was behind it. And that'll be multiple videos. We can talk about that. with the voting fraud, I could literally fucking show you thousands of videos. I want to spend a little more time on the J6 hoax. That's next. That'll be the last video I do of the day. It'll be the longest video I do. I'm going to try and keep this one maybe even below 30 minutes. I don't know. Is that even possible? You know, so shout out a man of memes cracking me up all the time. So this is just a side note. They actually believe that Biden, who's got to be one of the most deadbeat candidates in the history of presidency in America. Got to be. I mean, the most deadbeat joke of a candidate. Ridiculous. And they want to say that he got like 84 million votes. Freaking crazy. Okay.
So, hey guys, we're here at the inauguration. It's the most bizarre scene you ever saw in your life. There's like 100 people at the Biden inauguration. And it's just
crazy. So I'm going to breeze through some of these. There were people busted everywhere for doing this shit, interfering with the election, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of shit everywhere. And so, yes, there were some fake and scams of people shooting videos that weren't real, of people like destroying ballots, throwing them away, different things like that. Okay, there was some of that, but the evidence was still so overwhelming. And then as time has gone on, and I'm going to show a lot of different things here. Like here's someone saying our apartment in Santa Monica received 12 mail-in ballots in 2021 with one registered voter. There's several things like dead people voting, like thousands and thousands of dead people voting. Okay. There was even counties that had more voters than registered voters, more votes than registered voters. Okay. Things like that, rampant all over the place. We could break it down county by county, state by state for hours upon hours upon hours. And then does the fake news media ever hit on it? Never. They never touch on it. They deny it. They lie about it. And we knew this was going on. Nothing new. Now, to a lot of people, it's been amazing to see how many people have gotten their eyes open. I mean, namely Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, who used to be Dems that drove me freaking crazy. I couldn't stand them. And then, some of these good ones, they know the sham that it is. And then eventually it just becomes so undeniable. It's like, okay, you got it. And I see dozens of videos a day of people switching sides, eyes open, Trump following through, a president actually following through with what he says he's going to do. Okay. Blows our mind. So we had a gazillion people have said this. What did not only did the media cover it up, social fucking media would remove disinformation, misinformation, and they were demanded by the Biden office. Mark Zuckerberg came right out and said it. Biden's office gave them orders. They had to remove posts. They had 60,000 employees dedicated to identifying misinformation. Commanded. Yeah. And they call it misinformation. Right. That's called fucking Nazi fascism, communism bullshit is what that is. Okay. And it happens. It happened. We got the testimonies. We got the witnesses galore. Thousands of, and what is the fake news media? Trump, are you going to concede? You just didn't want a peaceful transition. You're just not going to concede. What a fucking dictator fascist. They want to call a guy who's trying to free speech for all of us, a fascist, when they're the motherfuckers censoring speech Okay. This was one of the reasons why I got canceled. Okay. And so I'm going to show a few videos here because there's a gazillion.
Go back one slide. Who determined the number 420,987 from the 2020 election? Was that your organization that determined there were that number of failed signatures, or was that the number reported by all of the counties in Arizona?
So, Madam Chair, Senator Bennett, that number is based on a review of a quarter of the 1.9 million envelopes from the 2020 election. We used 150 trained workers that studied the Secretary of State manual and followed those guidelines. And then they analyzed each voter record individually. Once we got the statistics for that first 25% or 400,000 ballots, then it was extrapolated to determine the final number.
Those are Maricopa County.
And that is just Maricopa County.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make, Madam Chair, is I think Maricopa County alone had 2,089,563 ballots in 2020, and about 1.9 million of them were by mail. And so your group analyzed about 25.
Did you hear that? They had 2.1 million votes and 1.9 million of them by mail. Really? Right. Okay. That's in Maricopa County in Arizona.
5% of those 1.9 million in Maricopa County came up with a percentage that you considered to have failed signature verification. Then you extrapolated to get to the 420,000.
Madam Chair, Senator Bennett, that is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, proceed.
Okay. Shout out to Johnny Midnight, who's always got tons of awesome stuff. It's cracking me up all the time.
And state legislators, state senators from around the United States. And I'm going to read this to you. And this is going to be a seminal moment. Memo for record. Letter from state legislators to the American people. Reference the 2020 presidential election. To the citizens of the United States of America. We, the undersigned state legislators of the United States, are vested with the plenary power by our U.S. Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2, to oversee the election of the President of the United States. It has come to our attention from an audit of 2.1 million ballots in the state of Arizona, complemented by an in-depth canvass of votes in Arizona,
a forensic audit,
as through multiple different data reviews of voting by independent experts, that our representative republic suffered a corrupted 2020 election.
Oh, we've been trying to tell you.
In addition to Arizona, sworn affidavits have accumulated from many states detailing rampant corruption and mismanagement in the election process. Fraud and inaccuracies have already been shown through multiple audits and canvasses in multiple states, as well as through lawsuits challenging the validity of election results in several counties in multiple states. We have come to the conclusion that all 50 states need to be forensically audited.
Boom! Overturn that shit!
To be scrubbed with a canvas of the voters to ensure future.
But you know what's wild is that it was hell going through all this back then, because it's just like we literally don't have a country. We're literally living in Nazi Germany is how I felt. Antifa's fucking going rampage and Black Lives Matter just fucking destroying cities. And I'm like trying to speak out about it. And I literally had somebody that I knew, because usually these are trolls that'll say shit like this, but I actually had somebody that I knew that said, your time is over. Meaning whites, your time is over. It's our time now. They were perfectly okay with people getting property, businesses ransacked and wrecked, setting up fires, people getting beat and even killed in the streets, people getting beat to a pulp, all this shit that was going on. Okay. And, but with all that being said, I guess that had to happen for people's eyes to get open. because what's happening now, it's like, good Lord, that they are donezo. So like the only thing these Marxist globalist elite motherfuckers can do at this point, because legacy media is dead, the only thing they can do is like start World War III type shit and just start absolute havoc and then blame it on Trump, and or do like a lot worse pandemic. So tons of rumors everywhere about another pandemic coming to wreck Trump and what he's trying to do, which is just free the world, is what he's trying to do.
States that don't require voter ID.
That's really.
Kamala Harris did not win any states with voter ID laws.
Oh, is that right?
Yep.
That's
And
interesting.
she didn't lose any states that don't require voter ID.
That's really interesting.
No, I'm not saying there's a connection there, Vivek, but
You're following the science.
I've been in, 18 hours or whatever of depositions from voting machine companies, two disgusting companies. I was not named in either suit, but they hauled me in and tried to wreck my life just for, I don't know, I guess disagreeing with them or something. Smartmatic and Dominion. Why do we have electronic voting machines? No one will say this because they're afraid of getting sued.
When did they start using them, and what was the justification?
The justification was that they're more efficient and faster. And it turned out.
Seems like it takes a lot longer to get our attention.
No.
Okay, so this was the same in the last election. Yeah, like Elon Musk is such a huge pivotal part, because freedom of speech, without the freedom of speech, we are done as a world, as we know it. Whoever controls the information has all the power. That's why they control the universities and the so-called research and studies. They control the doctors. They control the information. Doctors, we're going to talk about this with COVID. Okay. With COVID, doctors would lose their license if they didn't obey and say, yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're fucking robots. All the misinformation and disinformation, garbage. It's garbage. Lies. All of it. It's evil. So anyone who's against the simple First Amendment, why isn't this ingrained in our society? That if you try and censor speech, it's fucking evil. You're automatically in the wrong trying to censor speech. As long as there's free speech, freedom wins. Okay. So here, this was the same in the last election, by the way. So this is new information. We finally got this. I was looking for this for days after the election. But yep, once again, every single state, all 50 states, Donald Trump won in-person voting. In all 50 states, Donald Trump lost in mail-in ballots. In all the states that require voter ID, Donald Trump won. No, nothing to see here. Nothing to see. There's like 20 million more votes in the 2020 election or something like that. Maybe it was 10 million, something crazy. I think it's closer to 20 million more fucking votes. Maybe just 10 million than in the previous election. And the great Joe Biden has gotten more votes than any other president in history. Right. Yeah, nothing to see here. Not, irresponsible mail bullshit voting. We all saw it. That's the thing. It's so weird. As I talked about before, Donald Trump, I was watching The Daily Show with Jon Stewart back in 2015, 2016. I had kind of gone lefty a little bit, not extreme. But and I probably kind of needed that to see it was good to get alternate views. It's always good to get all sides. You always want to know all sides. Okay. Don't have a strong opinion until you know what's actually going on. Right? Okay. So that's why it was, but really it didn't matter that much. But there was a little time where I was kind of a lefty a little bit, or more on the Democrat side. I just wasn't sure, more or less. And I just thought Donald Trump was the biggest joke ever. And back then you could actually Google the entire life of Donald Trump, and you could actually read everything that was ever said about him. And I did months and months of intense research on the man. and was just like, huh, maybe he's not a joke. As I saw, first of all, I saw that he had a strong following and he was actually winning in the primaries. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. How is this joker winning? Are you serious? That's when I seriously looked into him like full time. And I became a delegate in here locally in Missouri. And okay. And so, because I found that in his actions, he never fucks people over. He always follows the golden rule in his actions. And if he's attacking someone, which he does, and he's crazy sometimes, I get that, but there's a reason behind it. It's because he's either dealing with somebody shady or trying to pull some shit. You guys got to realize all these fucking politicians are a bunch of corrupt motherfuckers on both sides. How do they all become worth hundreds of millions of dollars when they're making 170 grand a year? And you realize when you look at someone's net worth, okay, like Dan Crenshaw, for example, he entered office and he was worth $400,000. Now his net worth is $8 million. And he says they're not paid, enough. Well, that's $8 million that we fucking know of. All right. They have a lot more. There's without question. That's the case. Without question. I almost guarantee that somebody like Nancy Pelosi is worth $1 billion easy. Same with Barack Obama. Corruption galore. We're going to cover a lot of that. Another one I want to cover tomorrow is the California bullshit. And that's going to be a long one. COVID's going to be a long one, and COVID vaccines. Maybe I'll crank out 4 videos today. I don't know. Okay. I'm just fucking going for it. All right. Yeah. Non-paid position. Fuck you if you're just trying to get rich. If that's your drive to become a politician. That's why all the corruption exists. 100% money. Jeez, I get it. You might need your living expenses paid. Fine. That's it. And the thing is, these motherfuckers don't even have to fucking show up a lot of the times. Okay. So, of course, nobody's talking about all this. Nothing to see there, right? Okay. Well, we could literally watch it.
When I started writing down the ballot numbers and the last names of the person of the ballot that had the name on the ballot, they were all in. These are absentee ballots, mail-in ballots. They are all in sequence. These are absentee ballots, mail-in ballots. They cannot be in sequence. 2232 cannot have 2233 next to it because if they're mailed in, they come in all different numbers. And when I started noticing that these numbers are almost next to each other, like one or the other was in the middle, but then they were almost next to each other, my antennas went up. That's exactly when I thought something is not right here. Then I asked the supervisor. There was not even a date on those envelopes. It said November 0-2020. There was no second number there. Then I said, what is the date on this one? Then they got really mad at me. They said, you're not letting us do our job. You're disturbing us. And at that point, because we really don't want to be kicked out, so we were just kind of not challenging anything because we want to still stay in the room because we barely had anybody. Not only that, the sequence ballot numbers were all from the same area, like the Goddard Street in the downtown Detroit. Goddard Street, sequential ballots, signatures were all alike. They had no date stamp. It said it was empty after 0. There was no third or second or first or nothing. And none of them were coming up in the system. They were all being entered manually. They even knew that none of these details would even be in the poll book or in the system.
All right. We're just going to keep going. More.
Through eyewitness testimony that's been this evidence demonstrates, and it's through eyewitness testimony that's been corroborated by others through their eyewitness statements, that 130,000 to 280,000 completed ballots for the 2020 general election were shipped from Bethpage, New York to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where those ballots and the trailer in which they were shipped disappeared. This evidence demonstrates, and it's through eyewitness testimony that.
All right, we're just going to keep going. Hey, look,
Based when we
someone,
talk about the
an actual news station, one of the majors actually covered this. Wow, because none of the bullshit fake media did. Nope, they covered everything up. everything. And they called us conspiracy theorists when we tried to expose it, and then blocked us for saying misinformation.
From the beginning, this show has tried to be fact-based when we talk about the 2020 election results. So here's what we know tonight, factually. At least 36 batches of mail-in ballots from the November election were double counted in Fulton County. That's a total of more than 4,000 votes. Those numbers come from a group called Voter GA, which along with Bob Cheeley sued to get them. The final tally from the double counts we know about amounts to more than 3,300 votes for Joe Biden and 865 votes for Donald Trump. Now, before you dismiss Bob Cheeley and Voter GA as dishonest partisan actors, keep in mind that the strongly left of center Atlanta Journal-Constitution appears to agree with this, at least in outline. The newspaper reviewed the available digital ballot images independently and concluded that hundreds of ballots were improperly duplicated. What does that look like exactly? Well, here's what it looks like. At a press conference yesterday, a consultant with Voter GA called David Cross showed how we can be certain that votes in Fulton County were counted more than once. Watch.
What I'm going to show you here is two ballots side by side. One of them is marked for Jason Shaw, and it's got a little squiggle mark next to it. You can see it's got the identical mark on the second one. And the ballot image is stored up here on the top left. So this one over here is scanner 5162. That's scanner number 3. Fax number 235. Image number 19. And that matches 234, image 59. So you have the same ballot counted twice in the images and counted in the audit. How that's possible, I don't know.
How's that possible? I don't know. Every American should want to know, because the answer gets to the heart of the integrity of our elections, otherwise known as our democracy. We're not talking about a couple of ballots here. We're talking about a lot of ballots, at least hundreds of ballots involved, enough potentially to affect the outcome of the election. Here's another example.
Okay, we're just going to keep going. Here's one. Hey, this is good. So, okay. It's funny. Why would it push it to the side like that? Okay. So this is how bad the fraud was in New Jersey. Shout out to Defender of the Republic. Let's follow that. Okay. This is how bad the fraud in New Jersey in 2020. Over 500,000 fraudulent votes just in New Jersey. The worst areas here are shown in red. Every single municipality had a minimum of 300 fraudulent votes. Every single municipality. Thank you for the Election Fairness Institute for providing the data. All right. Okay, okay. There's more. Florida, even though he I imagine you are going to see prosecutions on that. There was several arrests. 20 Florida residents are being prosecuted for voter fraud. Okay. I mean, we can go on and on.
We discovered 10,000 people using the exact Social Security number. See if this one rings true. You take an illegal, you bring them in. They sign a piece of paper promising to pay taxes. What they get is a Social Security number. So the employers can take out the taxes. Put a pin in that. Here's what they do. In cities like this, let's think of a chicken processor. They will bring in hundreds of illegals. They will spread them out across all of these plants and factories, giving them jobs. They're all using the same Social Security number. The IRS unconnected our names from the Social Security number. Now, when you look it up, it just pings to see if there's an employer. If there is, it says it's good, it validates it. Why do they do that? Because all of these factories are giving them Social Security numbers. The government turns its back on it. As soon as you have a Social Security number and you go over to motor voter, pass the driver's court test, right? You get a driver's license. The person, look, you got a social, you must be a citizen. That's how they pack the rolls. By the way, those guys don't pay taxes anyway. It's taken out by companies. Our government's been sitting on $1.7 trillion slush fund that one fund has still in it to this day. So if you want to know where the dark money comes from. By the way, that's what, $100 million in a month in interest. I could go on. I now understand this is why they tried to kill us. And it's not stuff I wanted to know. It's not stuff I wanted to know about my country. It's not stuff I believed. But we have a uniparty. We don't have multiple parties. Everybody's benefited from this at one time or another.
Okay. So 10,000 plus illegal aliens use the exact same social security number and voted in the November 3rd, 2020 election. That's just in Arizona. Congress knew this and certified a criminal enterprise on January 6th. Okay. Flashback to 2020 when FBI, shout out to Insurrection Barbie. This was Sherry. Okay. Flashback to 2020 when the FBI was given hundreds of affidavits. Thousands. I can tell you it was thousands of affidavits from American citizens signed under her penalty of perjury of instances of voter fraud that they witnessed, and they ignored every single one of them.
Has been compromised. Have many more testimonies from whistleblowers with similar stories. The project is working.
Oh, where did that go?
We discovered
flaws and even exposed cases of voting fraud in the 2020 election, and has already uncovered serious examples of voting irregularities. Backing up President Trump's warnings, Klein explains that the post office was rife with fraud and that many postal service workers were taking part in widespread illegal efforts to undermine the election. While the missing truck full of ballots is bad enough, other whistleblowers say they drove thousands of pre-filled ballots right over state lines, which is a federal crime. A subcontractor for the post office, Nathan Pease, said that he was told by two separate postal workers that the post office in Wisconsin had collected and backdated over 100,000 ballots on the morning after the election. Unsurprisingly, others also claimed the integrity of Dominion voting machines has been compromised and cannot be trusted. During a press conference in Arlington, Virginia on Tuesday, the project explained that election officials in blue jurisdictions have failed to maintain the ballot chain of custody, which leaves the door wide open for voting fraud. The project said it has photographic evidence of people improperly accessing voting machines and eyewitness accounts on how the seals on ballot hard drives were illegally tampered with and broken.
I saw that
Klein
live.
says that in total,
All this
there
live.
are over 300,000 fraudulent ballots in Arizona, 548,000 in Michigan, 204,000 in Georgia, and 121,000 in Pennsylvania. Based on this evidence, the FBI has reportedly requested to look at the project's data on voting integrity and potential.
Let's keep going. Okay. 1 in 5 mail-in ballots had fraudulent activity in 2020.
Then we asked people a series of questions. The first of which is, or one of the first questions was, did you vote in the 2020 election, and did you vote with an absentee ballot? And if they answered yes to both of those questions, then we asked a bunch of questions related to voter fraud. We didn't tell them that we were asking, did you commit voter fraud? We just asked them about various behaviors. So for example, we asked people, did you vote in a state where you're no longer a legal resident? That's a pretty straightforward question. If you're not a permanent resident of a state, you can't vote there. 17% of people, nearly 1 in 5, said yes, they did do that. We asked people, did you fill out a ballot for someone else on their behalf? That's also illegal. You're not allowed to fill out someone else's ballot. 21% of people said yes to that question. We asked if people forged the signature of a friend or family member on their behalf, with or without their permission. We actually put that in the poll question, and 17% of people said yes to that. So all told, it's at least, and I say at least, 1 in 5 mail-in ballots involved some kind of fraudulent activity. But we didn't just stop there. We also asked everyone, whether they voted via mail-in ballot or not, so in-person voting as well, do you know anyone who personally, in your personal life, a friend, a family member, acquaintance, someone from work, has anyone ever admitted to you that they did one of these kinds of forms of voter fraud? And 10% and 11%, we asked 2 different questions on that, said yes. People admitted to me that they committed voter fraud. And so when you take 1 in 5, if we just take the 1 in 5 mail-in ballots could be related to fraud, and you apply that to the numbers of the 2020 election, which included more mail-in balloting than at any point in the history of the United States of America, what you end up with is potentially 13 million fraudulent mail-in ballots. And to put that in perspective, Donald Trump lost the election in the popular vote by about 7 million ballots. So this is a massive, massive story. If this poll is reflective of reality, it is proof that the 2020 election results can't be trusted.
Let's keep going. Shout out to Paul.
Asked people
Here.
a series of questions.
All right. Okay, Georgia. Let's go. We have 2,056 felons illegally voted, 66,248 under 18 voted, 2,423 weren't registered, 1,043 used a PO box, 4,900 voted late, over 10,000 were dead. 10,000 dead people voted in Georgia. Okay. 15,700 had moved out of state. 40,279 changed the country. Like moved out of the country. Oh, county. I'm sorry. County. So they were voting in the wrong county. So they must have voted in both counties. Multiple votes. Like I'm not kidding, you guys. We could
the first of which
literally go on for 24 hours straight. I could do this stream right now. I'm not bullshitting for 24 hours and just find endless thousands of videos of eyewitnesses of a gazillion different precincts telling the world live while it was happening, videoing bullshit. Now, some of it was proven to not be bullshit. Sure. But it was so overwhelming. The evidence is so fucking overwhelming. We can go on and on and on and on and on. Okay. What's this new bombshell evidence? Shout out to Leading Report here.
A Muskegon, Michigan city clerk noticed a woman dropping off thousands of completed voter registration applications. The clerk told police that many of the applications appeared to have the same handwriting, as if one person had filled them all out. And addresses on multiple forms were invalid or non-existent. Phone numbers on the forms were fake, and signatures did not match those on the file with the Secretary of State. So this woman, she called police. An investigation task force was formed and a statewide investigation was initiated. The police report says that Michigan State Police interviewed the woman who dropped off the stacks of ballot applications, and she told them she worked for the Democrat-funded GBI Strategies and was being paid weekly to find unregistered voters and get them registered. Here's one of the newly released tapes of the woman named Brianna being interviewed by police. She says that she was promoted to the role of GBI Strategies of compliance to make sure those getting people registered were doing it correctly. She said, watch.
Making sure no false registration. Because the Muskegon clerk did point some of them out to us that were bad. Yep, she did to me as well. Okay. Addresses, telephone number. Duplicate telephone numbers. Yep, signature not on file. Correct. And also the back, some of the ID numbers don't even, not even match, not even so it's like that I didn't know how to stop. So you wouldn't have caught that in your system? If I didn't get assigned through our QC, no. So your QC, it doesn't necessarily have the previous registrations. There we go. Yep. So the city clerk, the actual city clerk, like, hey, this is not. Yeah. What they have on file with that.
Audio's not great there. It goes on and on and on and on and on. A fake double scan ballot from Ware County 2020. Like, some people just like broke it down. A fake duplicate batch entry from Fulton 2020 hand count spreadsheet shows 110 votes to Trump. Biden 556 votes. This one fake duplicate batch gave Biden a fake net gain of 446 votes. Most disturbing is the fact that none of the evidence was discovered by county or state officials. It was all discovered by private citizens. Officials actually worked to cover up the evidence. It was everywhere. We all knew what was going on. Nonstop. Okay. And so we had Antifa running around, destroying cities, literally killing people. Several cops from Black Lives Matter and Antifa Dozens of cops were killed from that. Dozens of cops were shot. Hundreds were shot. Dozens were killed. Okay. We had billions, literally billions of dollars of damage all across the country happening from that bullshit that happened. By the way, it was bullshit. Black Lives Matter was a fraud. Antifa, George Soros, like we're going to be talking about this. And if somebody stood up to them to like guard your fucking property from people breaking in and destroying you, okay, the fucking shitbag media would persecute that motherfucker that stood up for himself. So you weren't even allowed. You just had to let these motherfuckers storm into your city and fucking wreck your shit. And you could do nothing about it. And then they launched the fucking COVID on purpose. They forced billions of people across the world. Okay. Or billions, plural, of people to get the COVID vaccine. They demonized you for not getting it. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. They fired you. They literally, I'm going to show videos of even Biden himself essentially calling for violence on anyone who didn't get the vaccine and wear masks. All the shaming, all the social media silencing you, the country fucking burning to the ground. Okay. All as a psychological operation to steal the election from Trump. And then people showed up to protest on January 6th or January 7th. And they knew that was coming. And then they covered it up. They initiated it. The FBI lied in Congress. Of course, Biden pre-pardoned his ass. Okay, we know that. They pre-pardoned all the officials that fucking looked into the J6 hoax. Why do you think he fucking did that? We're going to get into all this deep. Okay. And there were paid actors who broke the window and did the damage. They lied. They kept saying, the fake news media kept saying, this is the worst thing. This is as bad as 9/11. That's the audacity these motherfuckers had. We're going to look at these people, okay, coming up that were just pardoned. And the lie fucking continues. Fucking terrorists are terrorizing the Capitol. Well, I knew at the time it was false. It was fake. I knew it was. But I also knew that it makes sense since basically the world is going to shit. We just had our election stolen, fraud everywhere, lies, our whole entire culture getting hijacked by this bullshit, woke bullshit. We're going to talk all about that. Maybe in a couple days. We'll hit on it though. All the woke garbage, evil bullshit. We're going to hit on all of it. And thank God we had Elon Musk who bought X. Because, I mean, holy shit. Like, we were done. And so just for showing up and protesting fucking peacefully, they went to jail. It was the J6 protesters who first got attacked by the police. We had couple dozen at least staged protesters from the FBI who then gave false testimony in Congress and lied about it. Evidence, factual evidence. And then they falsely arrested people without a trial. They coerced people into pleading guilty. on and on and on. Basically, the message here is fucking lay down. If you try and fight, we're going to take your home. We're going to take your country. And if you don't like it, we're going to fucking put you in jail, you motherfuckers. That's their message. Yeah, so much empathy. Fucking delusional bullshit. And somehow people still watch the fucking media. That's what's so amazing to me. And even people like my fucking sister posting on Facebook, right, about the fucking terrorists, Proud Boys. The Proud Boys are a bunch of good old boys, most of them vets who love our country and are good dudes. If they see you broke down on the side of the road, they'll pull over and help you out and give you some money for gas or whatever. Type dudes. You're good old boys. They're accused of being the terrorists here. That's how literally Nazi Germany, Hitler fucked we've been in this country. Just unbelievable. So here real soon, maybe 30 minutes, I'm going to go live again and hit on the J6 fucking hoax, baby. You know what? Real quick. Why don't I do this? Let's Google. Here's another thing to look at, because the voting fraud has been going on for years and years and years without question. And they want to do things like they won't even allow you to show your ID. What? Can we just like all go to California and just go and vote all fucking day at all these different precincts? Like, how the fuck do they check? Is that really what's going on? And so that's why I just thought we're done. Like, there's no way Trump's going to win. Like, they just have this thing locked down. The globalist, Marxist, elitist that we're going to keep hitting on. But if you search voting FR fraud Prager U, if I spelt that right, there's some good ones here. Let's watch. These are great. Okay, wait. My bad. I got to do that. Present. All right.
While the major media fixates on the influence of foreign powers on American elections, a much more serious attack has been taking place right under our noses. Good old-fashioned, homegrown voter fraud.
Interesting.
Let's look at three of the worst offenses. Example number one, bloated voter rolls.
That's strange.
In 244 counties across the United States, there are more registered.
Go back.
Problem with universal mail-in balloting? Sounds simple enough. You fill out a ballot, stick it in the mail, somebody counts it on election day. In fact, we already do that with absentee ballots, right? So why would universal mail-in balloting be any different? Well, the biggest difference is that with absentee ballots, the voter specifically asks for a ballot. With universal mail-in balloting,
Okay. Those are good to check out. I bet it's on X too. Let's look. Okay, it's still sharing the screen. All right. Is it PRA? Maybe it's here. Huh. Or not. We just saw some of these. Okay, ballot harvesting. Did you know this was going on? Okay.
With more registered voters than ballot harvesting. In 2016, the state of California, one of the states with more registered voters than citizens, became the first state to legalize the practice of ballot solicitation. That is, the collection and delivery of ballots by third parties. With no trace of irony, this is called ballot harvesting. It works like this. In California, organizations with a clear political agenda are legally permitted to go to a location, say a nursing home or a church, and collect, literally harvest, ballots. The third party then transports these ballots to a polling place or an election office. This raises an obvious question. Once this third party collects the ballots, what's to stop them from changing them? Or from just throwing out the ones they don't like? A guilty conscience? How do we know ballot harvesters from Democratic organizations aren't destroying Republican ballots? Or Republican harvesters aren't destroying Democratic ballots? We don't. We have no way of knowing. Let's look at one specific example. On election night in 2018, California's Central Valley Republican Congressman David Valadao held a 5,000 vote lead over his challenger, Democrat TJ Cox. The margin was wide enough that the networks even called the race for Valadao, the Republican incumbent. But wait, there were late ballots still to be delivered by the third-party vote harvesters. When those votes came in, they broke so overwhelmingly for Cox, in a historically conservative district no less, that Valadao's 5,000 vote victory became an 862 vote loss. Maybe that was just a coincidence, or maybe not. In the first major election after ballot harvesting was allowed in California, Democrats won every single congressional seat in Orange County, which had been a Republican stronghold for decades. A year earlier, no sober person would have thought that possible.
We can go on and on. It's never ending. Yeah, Ferguson was right in my neck of the woods. Okay. Like we could sit on here all day and all night long and find all the garbage that went on. The mail-in ballot nightmare here. Okay. All right. So next, we're going to cover the J6 hoax. I love you guys. I'm going to go live here in probably less than 30 minutes.